welcome to our Halloween special. Thanks for watching. I'm Garth.
And I'm Wayne.
And we're the Pot Smoking Moms. Swing! We got a great show for you today. We have a costume court, smoking socials, and a new end of the show song.
I'm real excited for that. But you know what else I'm excited for, Garth?
I'm right there with you, Wayne. It's time for our Smoke Sesh! Hey, in addition to that, I got us a real treat. A little concoction from the Amazonian rainforest.
What is this?
My neighbor Judith went on a retreat and she had a trip with ayahuasca. So she
Ayahuasca?
Ayahuasca. Yeah, she brought us back some. She says it'll make us funnier.
All right, I'm cool with that.
All right, let's do it.
Cheers.
Whoa.
Ugh.
That tastes pretty terrible.
No,
but I'm feeling
gnarly.
funnier already.
That was a bit spicy.
Yeah, right? It's like a
Oh dear, our poor rat-smoking moms. They should have checked the terpenes on their scarawana. You know what they slay. If you're gonna smoke the griefer, it better be homegrown. Tonight's Halloween Deadcast has all of your favorite segments. Bruise Nugs, Scream Time, and my personal favorite, I Love You, Diami. So get your bowl and grab your secret slash before we smoke so much, you'll be causing.
ooh, spooky hand gestures, cause it's Halloween.
This is Halloween.
Everybody do a scream. I'm Sunny D.
And I'm Captain J.
And we're the Pot Smoking Moms. Hey, if you like today's spooky episode, please rate, subscribe, and share our episodes, and just be friends with us on all our social media platforms. PotSmokingMoms.com is the website, so check us out.
I don't know about you, but I've been staring at this J that I rolled, so ready to smoke it already. Because
Hell
you were hitting
yeah.
that little one hitter, but I haven't been.
Yeah, it was like, oh, you're gonna roll that? I'm gonna just smoke what I have packed already because I can't wait. But yeah, we got it. Something going on over here. If you've got something packed, if you've got a little J rolled up, it's time for a smoke sesh.
Yes, I twisted up a little J of some white cherry gelato that I picked up from the Flowery. Good stuff.
Nice.
Good stuff.
And they got the FloraCal back in stock at Sunnyside, so I was able to pick up some unicorn tears. So cheers.
Cheers. Light them if you got them.
Create some ambiance.
Let
for
us
the
know
spooky
what
smoke
you're smoking.
sesh.
Have you smoked what we're smoking? Was it unicorn tears and
Yeah, unicorn tears.
white cherry gelato? This white cherry gelato is one of my favorites from there. So are you ready for Halloween? Do you guys know what you're gonna be? Do the girls know what they want to be? Like,
Yeah, we need to figure out ours. I'm happy we got my daughter's costumes ready. We were looking the last couple of days for some costumes. We went to Marshall's and my little one liked this mermaid costume that looks like a mix between like a mermaid and a sea monster.
why? Because it has tentacles.
It has like, the little it has a headband, and you know how the little sea monster has these little things little Shrek things that stick out of its head.
Like
I don't know what they are. They're like little
antennas, kind of.
No,
or
they're like flat, and they kind of like in
like
Luca.
like flippers, but on the head.
Yeah, something. It's like these little things that do
Oh
this.
yeah. So like a Luca mermaid,
Yeah, sort of.
like a sea monster.
Right. Like I
She's a
guess
sea
mermaids
monster
are
then.
sea monsters. I guess I don't know. And then
Sirens.
we kept looking for the oldest wanted to
both
go
of
to
them?
Spirit. No, the oldest wanted to go to Spirit. Cause she wanted to be at first she wanted to be something spooky, something creepy, scary. But then whatever, I don't know. She backed out of that. We went to Spirit. The little one saw those animatronics. Some of them are pretty scary.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my husband pressed one and that fucking she wanted to leave. So we had to kind of like condense our time there. I didn't even get to see the one that scared her. I wanted to go back and like just look at what scared her. And then the oldest one picked out a pterodactyl costume.
Awesome.
It's really cute. It looks kind of like if you don't put the pterodactyl head on it, it looks very rock star because it has the little flappy, the little long arm things. She's like, I love those things. But I don't know. I gotta figure it out. Do you have any ideas for your costume yet?
I mean, for work, I'm gonna be Luisa from Encanto.
Nice, good one.
And I'll probably just do that when I go trick or treating with my son. I need a donkey plush. Like,
Okay, yeah.
you don't happen to have a plushie? With
I
a donkey, do you?
don't. No.
I want a giant donkey plush so bad.
Yeah.
It really would tie the costume together.
Oh well.
And then I think we decided what we're gonna do for the bud crawl.
Yeah, we're doing Wayne and
You
Garth.
saw it. They saw it.
Yeah.
In the intro.
We're gonna do our because that's the song that we've like. That's like the anthem of the bud crawl. It's like that's the
I think
first.
that's
It's a
everyone's favorite. Like,
right.
it's a great karaoke song, and everybody loves to go bananas to it.
Exactly.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's why we always do it on the bus. This time it'll be legit because we'll be dressed up as the characters.
It'll be funny.
But yeah, you know,
Yeah,
so many different kinds of costumes out there to choose from.
Yeah. My son hasn't picked one. I have to go to Spirit. I have to take him like Spirit Halloween or Party City. I was telling Johnny, we should go to Spirit. He's like, what's Spirit? I was like, what's Spirit? How do you know what Spirit Halloween is? I don't know what Spirit Halloween is. I was like, where have you been for the
under a rock?
Like,
under a rock.
How do you not know? And Julian's like, I don't know what it is. He's like, he doesn't know what it is. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't. He's 10. You know, he's turning 10. Oh my God.
They don't get out much.
Yeah. But you should know what Spirit Halloween is.
The spirit of Halloween.
He just wants to make me feel like a Halloween dork all the time.
Well, you kind of are. Well, I mean, whatever. There's nothing wrong with being a Halloween dork.
I love being a Halloween dork.
Halloween's fun.
It is fun.
Don't yuck our yum.
So, what are some of the favorite costumes you've ever done?
So, one year, damn, we should have. We're horribly unprepared. Obviously,
I didn't have
But
any pictures.
I know,
I asked you that.
I should have gone digging around.
I'm the worst at taking pictures.
Me and my husband did Doc and Marty from
that
Back
was
to the
my
Future
favorite that you
one.
guys did
That
too.
was our favorite because it was really weird when we would kiss and we were dressed up. As
Yeah,
that.
it's so funny.
But it
you
was
were
pretty
Doc
funny.
and he was Marty.
Yeah, that was real fun.
That was great. I
We
remember
did-
that year.
We did the Ninja Turtles one year too, really
You were
good too.
Shredder.
I was Shredder and I did
Oh.
my whole costume with like foam and like duct tape
Oh,
and all this.
if you're able, Uncle Jesse, I shared it in the WhatsApp chat to bring up the picture.
Oh, you have that one. Yeah.
I put it in the chat. You didn't see it? I shared it earlier
yeah,
today.
I did.
You were dressed as Shredder, and I was a hit girl from
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass, yeah.
which was awesome.
It's
That was
funny because
awesome
we kind of
costume.
matched, you know?
Yeah,
'Cause
we
we're
kinda
both,
did.
Purple.
And we are both ready to throw
Kick-Ass.
down. Kick ass.
Oh,
That was fun.
You know, I that was probably one of my favorite costumes I did, and I'm like the worst at taking pictures. I never take pictures of myself, like ever. Actually, I just don't take pictures.
Yeah, I know.
Period.
Oh, look, there it is.
There it is. Yeah, that's at the old Hialeah house.
We were flaca as fuck in that picture, bro. We were hungry as hell. Look at us, young,
Hit Girl and
youthful.
Shredder. Yeah, I had that background in all of our house parties for
Yeah.
like a good 10 years. Like,
Yeah,
we
you
painted
had
that shit. We made that ourselves and like saved it.
You had a whole
Put it up
photo
every year.
booth set up and no pictures. She's
I
never
never
take
took
pictures, just
Well,
photo
okay,
booth.
I took pictures, but like in groups.
Yeah.
Not me by myself. So you couldn't really like see the costume well. You know what I
Right,
mean? It was
yeah.
always group pictures.
We did. Oh, I remember one of your parties. We did. Me and my husband did Bob's. He did Bob from Bob's Burgers,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I did.
That was at this
Tina.
house. We were at this house already.
Yes, right.
And you also did you did Jim Carrey. You did
Oh, that was
and-
like kind of a.
it was half-assed, but it was
half-assed.
still funny. Well,
the Jim
his was
Carrey.
more half-assed by being the Dan Marino by just wearing the jersey.
Oh yeah, I wore the tutu at least.
You were at least the tutu and the boot, like boots
Ace
and
Ventura,
shorts.
right?
Ace
and
Ventura. Ace
Dan
Ventura.
Marino.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
Oh man,
What
but
about
there's
you?
some
You
really.
had some.
Yeah, I wish I had pictures. I did Bellatrix Lestrange one time from Harry Potter. That was another favorite of mine. I almost won that year the costume contest,
Oh.
but then I lost to Pete. Pete was what's that character from Watchmen that had the face that was the rock what's that test?
Rorschach.
To him. He was
Yeah.
that
I
guy.
remember that.
That was a good year.
That was a good year. You know,
I was Sarah Palin one year too.
that's right.
2008.
We talked about that earlier, and I was like, oh, Sarah Palin. It's always funny when you could turn a political character into a costume, and we got a couple of they're like, do we really need these costumes? Uncle Jesse set up a little costume court for us.
It all started when D started going off on that.
Yeah, I was like, what? I looked up for costumes on Shein, which first of all, yeah, I shouldn't be on there anyways, and everything it gave me was like sexy costumes, and I was like, do we really need every single costume on here
It's
to be
really
sexy?
funny that it only gave you sexy costume options.
I don't understand. I don't understand. But
there
anyways,
was no regular costumes. They were
all
sexy
of them.
costumes.
And I was like, I just want a regular old costume here, ladies and gents. But we found a couple of really good ones, like political characters. You could have been a sexy, instead of a sexy Sarah Palin, you could have been a slutty Donald Trump.
Oh my God. No.
Look
Is
at
that for
this,
real?
The Halloween spirit. These are the costumes that.
Oh my God.
Her nalgas are almost hanging out.
Really? Is this really a thing?
This is
is
a costume that exists. I was like, do we need this?
What does the hat say?
I don't know. What does it say?
I can't tell what it says.
It says make America sexy again or some shit like that. Some fucking dumbass.
Oh, it says making America great.
Okay.
It says making America great.
Oh, so they
with her nalgas.
With her and making America great, making my nalgas great.
But why sexy Donald Trump? Like, who could ever think of that as sexy?
They were like, you know what? Let's make it. Yeah. I didn't find a picture for this one because maybe this one was something I made up. But a skanky
I think you
Sasquatch.
made that up. You made that up.
I saw we saw like a Nordic princess, like some sort of like
you saw
Viking,
a Sasquatch
sexy Viking
costume, and then you saw like some other sexy one next to it.
The Viking one next to it. And I was like, a skanky Sasquatch. That's all we need.
How do you make a Sasquatch costume sexy?
You
add lingerie.
Listen, you wear
like a Sasquatch costume and then lingerie on top.
Oh, that would be hilarious. That's the way I would make it. Or you could just wear a bikini and then do like the
patches
fur.
of hair everywhere.
Yeah, fur on the hands, fur on the boots.
That's not
the
sexy.
Boots with the furs.
No.
And then that's sexy Sasquatch.
Absolutely not.
If you need a last minute costume, you guys, and you want an excuse to show off your titties and your ass, sexy why not a skanky Sasquatch? Or what about a hot TNT costume?
Wait, what do you mean hot TNT?
Like a dynamite, like a stick of dynamite. Or no,
Ninja Turtles?
No, not Teenage Mutant. Not hot. Well, I'm sure there's a hot Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume as well. But this is a hot stick of dynamite.
Sure there is.
A slutty, whatever.
A slutty stick of dynamite.
Skanky stick of dynamite. You got the picture? Oh no, that's a kinky cow.
What was that?
That is a kinky cow.
That was a sexy cow. It's a kinky cow.
Because it's like, why? It's unnecessary. Look,
you put it out of order. That's why.
Oh, sorry.
Your list is here.
Oh yeah,
not
sorry.
The same order.
I'm making you look bad. I didn't mean to do that. Sexy cow.
That is a really sexy costume. That
Why would you even?
That doesn't look like a costume. That looks like lingerie.
Where would you even wear that to? I mean,
a really sexy party.
Yeah, or if your man's into like humping sexy cows or something. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I don't know why we gotta make animals sexy.
Right?
That's weird.
There's so many sexy animal costumes. We should draw the line somewhere, and I'm gonna say maybe draw the line
No.
at sexy cow. perhaps?
Yeah, the sexy baby is an absolutely no.
Oh yeah, what is up with the sexy baby costume? That one's there
That
for
one
sure.
was very disappointing.
Yeah, like
Not
what are
disappointing,
we-
but like, what is it? Scary. It's
I
weird.
mean, why would you even?
It says "crybaby" on her little bib there.
Aw, she's so cute. Like, what are you?
Why are we?
Que tu pinta?
Why are we sexifying babies?
Yeah,
That's really
not cool.
creepy.
Not cool. Party city. No, I'm kidding. This is not a party
She's
city.
like, yeah,
Doesn't sell
daddy.
this one.
Yeah, daddy. Oh,
Yeah, pretty gross.
it's so bad.
We don't need
Such
that.
bad taste. Like, who would actually buy that costume?
Right. And then
Oh wait, look. I think that would be a costume if it's like a kinky thing, a bedroom thing.
yeah, I mean, it would most definitely have
Because
to
isn't there
be.
guys that are into that?
Yeah, there's that guy. The guys who like.
I heard that there's guys that
diapers and
like
shit.
like to wear diapers and be
Yeah,
changed. Oh my god,
yeah, that's so gross.
weird.
But
Hey, I don't want to
know,
hate on your kink. Whatever
but
you're
I don't
want to
hate on a
consenting
kink, but-
adults.
yeah, that's. I mean, okay, all right. And then
I wouldn't want to change a man's diaper.
yeah, I
Like,
mean,
we already got
no,
to change our kids'
listen.
diapers.
you-
What the fuck?
You look forward to not buying the diapers once your kid gets potty trained. Why would you want to like submit yourself to that again?
Oh my goodness.
Weird.
Oh.
Weird. Oh, and then I did want to talk about the Joker situation because for some reason, first
Joker
of all, we
situation.
have like a.
Oh,
did we need a sexy Joker?
is that Joker?
That is a sexy Joker costume.
That is not a Joker
with
costume.
some vagina floss there because
I don't understand. I don't see the. I guess the green hair and pale face
and the purple vest. It's Joker.
It looks purple. I
Love that
guess.
Joker. But I feel like the
That's
Joker
weird.
costume has a bad stigma attached to it.
Stigma.
Yeah, I feel like
Stigma? You mean
well,
maybe a curse?
I don't know, man, but I feel like every time you see a Joker at the party, like stay away from that guy because you know he's gonna be doing whatever crazy shit and saying, "Oh, I'm in character. It's my Joker costume," and you're like, "Dude, stop setting things on fire. Like, what are you doing?"
So anybody dressed as Joker usually gets too far into
They
character in your
just do get
experience?
right. I feel
I know
like
I've
every
had an
time-
experience like
We
that.
have had an experience, and that's why I was like, "Look, there you go. Case in point. We don't need to like." And that's
But that was one, you know.
yeah, no. But there's been several other times when I've gone out to back in the day when I would go out and do Halloween. Go to like the.
Dressed as
Go to,
Joker
like,
just
Coconut
like
Grove
gives
and
them the
shit.
excuse to just be wild. And
I
like,
think so. People think, oh, they use that as their moment to be a Joker for real. I don't know. I don't know. But Jokers, they usually transform, especially if you
yeah, we
they're
had a
kicking them
Joker
back.
break a bottle on a table.
Oh my god, I
at
was there for
my
that.
Halloween
it was
party.
Pretty epic. It was like, whoa, why?
Crazy! You want to see me get crazy?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Broke a bottle
And
on
everybody
the table.
was
We're
like,
like, what the
Hold- Yeah, we're like, hold on a second. Have
Whoa,
you?
calm the fuck down.
We're pretty old already too. We're like,
That was this house already.
how many drinks
We're
have you
already
had,
no longer
buddy?
in the original high.
Put the bottle down. The broken one and the one you're drinking. Both. Put them down. Yeah, Joker. I get every time I see a Joker in the
Oh
crowd,
my
I'm
God,
like,
you're like, "Oh, stay away from that."
Stay away from that guy.
Okay. Well, that's good advice, I guess.
Stay away from the Joker at the party.
Stay away.
You also mentioned a little earlier that it's been 30 years since one of our favorite movies, Nightmare Before Christmas, was
I can't believe
released.
it's been 30 years since that movie came out. How crazy is
Yeah.
that? And it's still just as awesome as it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, I love
It's
it.
such a great movie to watch.
I love it to show my kids. They like it. They enjoy it. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
a good one.
I can't remember who it was that they had their daughter kept saying, they called him "What's this?" That Jack Skellington-
she called because of the
because of the song. What's this? What's this?
Yeah.
There's magic in the air.
Did you have any? Those are pretty good costumes. I would like to do the Nightmare Before Christmas theme. Those are fun.
Yeah, that is a good.
I
costume
always
set
like
to do.
those.
Mhm.
Even if they like the mayor, I've seen one where people have done the mayor
And they
that
actually
shit's-
make the switching face. Yeah, that's really
so
cool. I've seen. It's fun seeing like
Really
people come up
well-made.
well made creative costumes, and
Yeah.
those have always like all my favorite costumes that I've done have been ones that I've just put together. Oh my god, there's the TNT. TNT dynamite.
Well, if she farts, she's gonna set it off, guys.
Oh my god,
It's over for you.
she's cute though.
Yeah, she's adorable. Very adorable.
TNT.
I mean, that's a cute
little
costume,
random. It is
but
cute, but
TNT, I don't know.
I
She
feel
can-
like that's a costume for like a show. Like she's
right. She could be a
she's-
cigarette girl,
no,
like
I
selling
feel
the
like, yeah,
cigarettes, like
or-
one of those burlesque things.
yeah, like if she's on a show and it's like about TNT and fireworks, and she's
Oh.
one of the backup dancers, and
Yeah.
she's like TNT.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it could be a show about a musical about TNT. I mean, about fireworks or something,
Or just
Or about ACDC.
or about ACDC. Yeah, she's an ACDC backup dancer.
Maybe she wore that to one of their shows.
She's like, oh, I'm gonna get on stage with this outfit for sure, you guys.
Oh my god.
Was there any?
No, I've always wanted to do Darkwing Duck. That's the one
Oh,
that I want to put
yeah.
together. I found one person that did a really great job online, and if I tried to make it, I'd try to like redo what they did. That picture's not the best quality. I
Oh,
couldn't
that's
find a better one,
cute.
but they did such
With
a
the
good
ray
job,
gun.
right? Because it's really hard to find like the purple trench coat, but she did like a kind of like a blazer skirt kind of thing.
Yeah.
And her cape is awesome. And she even made the gun. Look at the gun.
Yeah, that's really cool. We were talking
Yeah,
about how
that's
much
my
time
dream
and effort.
I want to do that.
That's a good one.
That's one I've always wanted to do.
How much time and effort goes into like all these cosplay and then the people who do the makeup? I mean, it's incredible.
It is.
I mean, like that. Look, the closest I got to making something like that was that shredder costume, and that
Yeah.
took a minute.
yeah,
But
yeah, because you were like you made each of the
of the
blades
blades
and all that,
and all
yeah.
the hand things, yeah. Took a minute, but it was pretty cool. Yeah. You know, once you have kids, you don't have so much time to do shit like that anymore. So you do it for them.
You do it for their
yeah, you
costumes.
do it for them. I'm at a point where I'm not DIYing shit. I'm gonna fucking buy it in a package and slap it on, and then we're moving on. If I can add a couple of pieces here and there, if it's something that I can like manipulate, but it's really hard to take the time to. I thought about like getting into sewing and maybe like getting a sewing machine so that we can like, even if it's like making clothes for your kids too.
or their costumes.
All the costumes.
Yeah.
Gotta craft those costumes.
I always wanted to be that kind of mom, but I'm not good at sewing. I guess I could try harder, but
I mean, I feel like if you get the, if
I had a sewing machine. I tried, and I
Yeah.
wasn't very good at it. No.
my grandma growing up, she would do a lot of stuff for us. She sewed us a lot of costumes. We did. We went to church. We did like fashion shows at church where she would like make us like, you know, a combination of dresses. So it was cool. She would help me make like Barbie dresses and shit like that. I mean, it's just practice. You just gotta, you know, I'm sure. I don't know. But then again, like time, bro.
Yeah.
Time. Hey, thank you for spending your time listening to our podcast. We love you. If you like what you see, you can go ahead and support us over on our Patreon page where we get together. We do smoke sessions on Discord and all kinds of fun stuff. You could check it out.
If you can't become a patron, just like this video. I hope you're watching on YouTube right now. If not, go over there.
Yeah,
Follow
you can.
us.
Yo, you go to YouTube. If you are listening and haven't checked out our YouTube page, go to YouTube right now. We got a cute set for Halloween.
Yeah, we have a nice little background going.
Spooky
with
dooky.
This guy with his J over here. I don't know if anybody's noticed that guy right there. He's spooky. I can't point.
He's-
How do I
oh,
point?
hey. Light him up real quick. Me, me, me.
So yeah, just you can rate, review, and share our content. That always helps as well. I think we have a little smoking social that we wanted to do before we get into our interview. Our interview this week is really great, so make sure you stick around.
Oh
for
yeah,
that.
if you've been wanting to get into the world of psychedelics, this interview that we have on our show a little later on with Hamilton Souther. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The last name? Souther?
Yeah, it's Souther.
Souther.
I think it's Souther
I know.
or Souther.
I don't know.
We
I
should have
kept
asked him.
mixing it up. Souther, Souther, Souther. Hamilton was lovely to talk to, and we talk all about ayahuasca and the lovely Amazon. Stick around for that interview later.
But let's get into smoking socials. I found this.
Beep, beep, beep. Right? That's how it's gonna go. Wow, wow. They like some sort of silly rock and roll song. Something that's not copyrighted.
Yeah.
Beep, beep, boop, boo.
Shoo-be-doo-doo.
You got it. You know it. Sing it, girl.
All right, smoking socials. This was on the tree subreddit on Reddit.
This was interesting.
A different type of post from a parent finding his kid smoking. What now? Oh God, here we go. So today, I found about an eighth of marijuana hidden in my daughter's bedroom. It was in an inside pocket of her jacket. I went to wash. I wasn't snooping. She is almost 12 years old. 12 years old.
Yeah, I feel like if your mom is still cleaning your clothes, you should not be smoking weed. If your mom is still doing your laundry, buddy.
I feel like if you are smoking weed that young, you're trying to hide it and you're trying to be careful. I'm surprised to be so careless to leave it in your clothes.
Unless
a
she's,
whole entire age.
Yeah, unless maybe she didn't know. I don't know. Keep reading.
Right? That's a lot.
Yeah, right.
And at 12?
12, an eighth.
I feel like that's
You couldn't
so
score an
young.
eighth at 15, let alone 12 years old.
I feel like, but okay, when we were smoking that, like when I was young, I think it was more common to be able to buy like a 10 piece, like what is it, a dime they called
a
it?
dime bag,
A dime
or
bag,
a nick bag.
yeah, 10, 5, or
And
15,
I mean,
20,
at that
not
age,
15,
you don't have a lot of
20.
money to play with either. So it's not
Exactly.
like, you know.
I don't know if they still do that. I guess if you're selling to
If you're selling to teenagers, probably.
All right, she's almost 12 years old. I'm not religious and I don't want to be one of those mental parents that does something crazy, although this has proper upset me. You see, she is not 15 or 18 or 22. She is almost 12. Damn, so she's not even 12.
She's not even
11?
12. She's 11.
I personally smoked from age 15 to about 22, but not a lot, maybe a joint a week. Yeah, he didn't have an eighth.
Yeah, you didn't have an eighth. A joint a week is like a nick bag, maybe. Not even. Like you can get 2 joints maybe out of a nick bag.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what is a reasonable thing for me to do as a parent from now? I say, if you say discipline her, on what scale? 1 equals half laughing about it to 10 equaling going fucking ballistic. If you say have a chat with her, is this 5 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour driving it home? She knows that she knows not that I found it yet. I think I'll get a lot more balanced reason view here than in the subreddit parent. Or my family equals
basically her family basically seem like a load of people that have never even smoked and think hash equals cocaine or heroin. So I guess her parents are gonna
Like
fly off the handle.
like she can't go to her family for advice
right,
because they're
right.
like,
You're gonna be fucking psycho
weed is
about
just
it.
as bad as like cocaine and heroin.
Yeah, oh boy.
Help me or just call me a shit parent. Up to you.
I want to
Oh
say,
my
where is this
God.
person from? Because even the way that she writes, there's some things she says differently than we do.
Yeah.
Because she knows not that I found it yet. We don't write that shit like that. But anywho,
Yeah.
man. I feel like, first of all, this parent seems really
okay.
cool.
Yeah. It's
Because she's trying to like
come here
you rationalize it to get some feedback from audience.
Yeah, she wants, probably maybe she is asking different points of views, but she's coming to people that she knows, okay, they consume cannabis and probably consume it
Right.
responsibly, and there has to be parents in this group of people as
Yeah.
well, you know.
She just doesn't want to be crucified by parents in the parenting department over there.
Yeah,
just
because
the parents of
we all know how judgy it can be in the parenting
Jesus.
like chat rooms and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. 11's so young.
Yeah, that is pretty young.
So the first comment that got upvoted the most, it's pretty big and it's the most popular, but it was a very good response.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, you read it, but it's only over here. I
Okay,
didn't put it on
it's
this.
all right.
Yeah.
As a daily user, pediatric healthcare worker, and stepmother to an 11-year-old, here are my thoughts. Listen to why she had it. Ask why questions. Was it peer pressure, feeling sad, depressed, bored, curious? Figure out calmly what smoking, if they did smoke it yet, provided them.
Oh, yeah, maybe they just got it.
Yeah. This generation has gone through a lot these past 2 years with lots of scary mental health concerns on the rise. Listen and validate how she's feeling. Very good. Educate her when she is receptive to it. Berating never helps. On why cannabis usage at her age isn't wise. I will never be able to lie to my stepchild about the benefits cannabis provides me as an adult, but I will also never lie about the harms of it. Offer and provide other activities to engage in. Maybe she needs an extracurricular activity to divert focus, or maybe more leisure time with family, or hobbies that she's interested, or therapy, or anything else that's productive and brings value to her life. I'm also going to question her current friend group, especially if they are partiers or bad influences. That might not be your first thing to address, and since kids can definitely push back about being told no, making them do it more. Set boundaries. You're the parent. Make it clear that cannabis usage won't be tolerated as it is detrimental to her health at her age. This should be mutual, if at all possible, an agreement rather than a punishment. But also make it crystal clear that you want her to be honest about any problems or concerns that she has. That she won't be outright punished for making mistakes. You don't want her hiding things, so find a communication style that allows her to discuss things with you. Kids these days are smart. They have unlimited access to information and social interactions virtually online. Work with, not against. It's always easy. It's not always easy, but it typically leads to better short and long-term outcomes.
I love that the username is
Shut up, D. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's a good name for my social media handle. That's she makes a very valid points.
I think that was some sound advice.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much sums up the best of the advice that you can get for this situation. I feel like we've talked about it before in the past, where we're like, we want our kids to be able to come to us and talk to us. That we don't want them to be scared about the consequences, because we don't want them to put themselves in very risky situations based out of the fear for like us reacting a certain way.
Exactly.
I try to sometimes like kids do things and I get kind of mad, but I try to like chill out and be like, okay, look, you spilled the water on the floor. That's fine. Just
you don't want
clean.
them
Let's
to be
clean
afraid
it,
to call you. You want them
Right.
to be able to call you like no matter what situation they're in.
Yeah. Sloan Sid does this thing where she's like, oh, mommy, I made a mistake. And I'm like, what's the mistake?
So
and then I'm
cute.
like, it's okay to make mistake. Just like clean the mess you made or whatever,
I can't imagine. I mean, that young who knows? I mean, I didn't see an update from the poster like about what happened. I
Right.
just kept seeing comments from people, usually responding to that main one that we read. One person was like, I'm 24 and I don't have kids, but I'm saving this comment because this sounds like great advice.
Yes. Yeah. She's smart. Right. And that's what we said. Like, she summed it up perfectly.
But it's like, why would 11-year-old, is it just their friends?
Yeah. And if she's so careless and she left it and she just found it like that, does she know what it is? Like, I don't know. I would have other questions like, like how it got there.
She even got it. Maybe it turned out to be something.
Mom, I found it in your closet, Mom.
I don't know. I found it in your car.
I learned it from watching you, Mom. And I'd be like, damn, I need to get better weed. This is pretty shitty.
And 8, she knew how much it was.
Yeah.
She said she hadn't smoked since she was like 22. I don't know how old this mom is now, but
she should listen to the Pot Smoking Moms podcast. Maybe she could have popped into the Discord, asked us real quick, and then handled that situation. Where we at?
We have reached the end of the show. No kidding.
We're not.
We have our interview.
We have this interview was really great.
I wish we had the means to animate some of the stories this person.
Oh yeah, he had some amazing stories of people on ayahuasca having their moment, and even him like joining them in their moment,
describing his experience and experiences he's had with people. So I really enjoyed this interview, and I think all you guys are gonna really enjoy listening to it.
Yes, here it is, our interview with Hamilton Souther.
Well, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Peru, Hamilton. We're very excited to have you on the show because something that's always piqued my interest is learning more about ayahuasca. All right. So, can you tell us a little bit about your organization? Is it Blue Morpho Academy? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Blue Morpho Academy is a visionary plant medicine academy teaching both a mystery school and certification courses for people interested in ayahuasca, San Pedro Huachuma, psilocybin mushrooms, and cannabis. And we're teaching how to be a sitter, a coach, a facilitator, and a master facilitator. And we're trying to help the entire space get the kind of accreditation and support that individuals need to be able to hold those roles in a professional way.
That sounds amazing. And you are a master shaman?
I am indeed. I moved to the Amazon 20 years ago and found my way into an Amazonian lineage of plant medicine healers and studied with them and trained with them. And through that process was given the title Maestro.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience and how long it took to get that title?
The entire experience has been, I think, really intense throughout the entirety of my life. Living in the Amazon in its own right is a powerful experience, but then also being involved in the plant medicines, going through a traditional apprenticeship has a lot of tests of virtue associated with it. So you go through lots of difficult experiences to try to make you prove yourself and also be able to handle very intense visionary experiences. So in total, I went through a very accelerated apprenticeship. From the time I moved to Peru to the time that I was given the title was just under 3 years. And from the time that I started the apprenticeship formally to gaining the title was just under 2 years. But typically it takes somewhere between 5 and 10 years.
Wow.
And so within that 20 years, you've lived in Peru the entire 20 years?
There's only been a few years that I was actually back in the United States. I was living in Colorado right around the time that recreational cannabis was legalizing, and we were helping promote the spiritual use of cannabis at that time.
So what inspired you to go to Peru and be a part of this?
In my early 20s, I had a series of awakenings, and in them, there was a very clear calling that I needed to follow to Peru. And so I know that can sounds a little strange for some people, but it started with very clear lucid dreams and premonition dreams that came true, and then meeting people that knew of what was happening and that guided me. And then ultimately in my own meditations and visions was told that I would go to Peru. And so when I went to Peru, I actually went looking for this apprenticeship. And I was told that there were people that already knew of me and that they were waiting for me and that I needed to go find them. And so I went to look for them to see if it was actually true. And I doubted along the way. I had a lot of fears and, it seemed kind of out there and intense, but it actually came true. And there really were people in the Amazon that were waiting for me.
That's crazy. That's so cool. I kind of would be kind of creeped out about that.
Yeah,
Like, wow,
I
that's amazing. We really
It's a
are all
little,
connected.
yeah, it's through those kind of connections. I mean, they had been practicing visionary ceremonies for many years and they were real masters of the arts. And when you have those kinds of experiences with ayahuasca, it opens up how you kind of see the world. And so I think it was through that means that they were able to connect.
What would you say to someone about that is interested in trying ayahuasca? Like, what would you say to them to prepare for it, or what would you recommend?
Yeah, I think the best preparation is first to find a reputable place or people to do this with, because it can be very intense and there is an interaction between the people who are supporting the ceremony and the people that participate in it. And so it's very much like finding a good doctor or finding a quality practitioner of any kind, or just like if you're sourcing cannabis, you want to get it from a really good source. So it's knowing that. And then the preparation before it is a week or 2 weeks before it, just to really clean up your diet, to remove like a lot of heavy greases and spicy foods and things like that, just because it can be intense on the body. And so, you want to stop drinking alcohol or taking other kinds of substances in the week or 2 weeks before. And different lineages and different centers have different attitudes about how long that should be. But I think at a minimum, 1 week is really good, and better if you could do 2. And then, try to have as low as stress as possible. It's not always possible to remove stress, but at least amount of stress possible going into the experience. And then just have it and have a really good time.
And I don't know if a lot of our listeners are familiar with ayahuasca. What can you give us a little bit? I know it's a cactus, but I could be wrong.
Ayahuasca. I think you're talking about San Pedro or peyote, but
That's
Yeah,
peyote,
peyote,
yeah. That's the cactus. But
And I don't know.
It's from
sure. Ayahuasca it's a tea. First of all, the easiest way to describe it is a tea. And it's a tea made of very strong medicinal plants that grow here in the Amazon. They actually grow right behind me. And the ayahuasca itself is a vine, and it grows up. It's a leafy vine, and it grows up trees and stuff. And you harvest the vine and you use the vine itself. And it has potent alkaloids in it, potent chemicals that are visionary. And then you also combine it with the leaves of the chacruna tree. And chacruna has strong concentrations of DMT or dimethyltryptamine. And so the combination of the two makes for a very, very long acting DMT experience. And that can last anywhere from 3 to 12 hours.
And it's
That's
it's
intense.
as much as the concentration of like a tea, you would say, like a tea bag or something.
Yeah, you drink. I mean, you have a different concentration of plants to be able to turn it into the tea, but you cook it in big pots and you just fill the pots with the plants. And you cook it for many, many hours, and then you boil it down into a reduction. You reduce the quantity so it's more concentrated, but fundamentally it's a water-based tea. And you drink it just like if you were going to make tea at home, only it has a lot stronger substance associated with it. It's a lot stronger. And there's a very interesting interplay between the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaves. If you drink chacruna by itself, nothing happens. There's an enzyme in the stomach that breaks it down before it can be absorbed. But with ayahuasca vine, it inhibits that enzyme. And so you can absorb the DMT through the stomach. And then there's also an interplay in the brain that's very interesting. The ayahuasca vine is a MAO inhibitor. So it inhibits the uptake of different kinds of neurotransmitters in the brain. And when you have DMT with ayahuasca in the brain, it lets it last much longer. So when people smoke DMT, it lasts 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And when people drink ayahuasca, it lasts 3 to 12 hours.
Tell us a little about the different roles that you were talking about in your academy, because you said some people is it they take care of the people while they're going through the trip. What are the different roles that are involved in this process?
Yeah, there are 4 roles that we identified as being really important to providing people support while they go through psychedelic experiences. And the first is a sitter, and the sitter is there to be sober and know how to handle any kind of emergency, get you anything you need, support the people that are there, not be under the influence of the substances or the psychedelics. And they're trained in handling emergency. They're trained in immediate first aid if necessary to give it if there's a problem, or how to communicate with, emergency staff or authorities if necessary, just in case of anything. I mean, the idea is to create a space that's safe for people to have these experiences. And then there's a coach, and the coach is the advice giver. They're the before, during, and after person who orients and talks about the plants and psychedelics and helps people understand them and how to understand dose and the differences between them and all the different kinds of advice that people need. Also, how to approach the psychedelic session itself, what can be experienced, what are typical experiences and typical outcomes, why you would pick, say, cannabis instead of ayahuasca or San Pedro instead of psilocybin mushrooms, why you would want one or another based on your purposes for being there. And then there's the facilitators, and the facilitators actually consume the psychedelic substance along with their participants. So often you'll have facilitators that will work with sitters, and knowing that the facilitator is also going to be under the influence. And they start to learn the traditional ways of actually working with people in the visionary states. So as people start to have a psychedelic experience, the indigenous communities that used these medicines learned how to influence and support the experiences that others were having when everybody was in the visionary experience together. And so facilitators learn how to do that. And a master facilitator is taking all of those skills of the sitter, the coach, and the facilitator to a master level.
Wow. And how many, like, is it one sitter and one facilitator per person, or do they work with multiple? Like, is there like groups? How does that work?
Yeah, it depends on the individual circumstances. So often you'll see one-on-one care where there's a sitter or a facilitator working with one person, but then you'll also see small groups and all the way up to larger retreats. I typically work in groups of 30 to 40 people when we have ceremonies, and you'll hear of larger groups, but as soon as you start getting over 30 to 40 people, that's starting to be considered a larger group of people.
That's a large group. Now, how many sitters and facilitators would you have
For 30
and,
to 40.
and coaches would you have for 30 to 40 people?
Yeah, with 30 people, I can be a sole master facilitator and then just have usually 2 to 4 other sitters with us and another 2 to 4 other helpers.
And how long do the ceremonies typically last?
Typically anywhere from 3 to 6 hours is the formal part of the ceremony, and then they last throughout the night. So we start them in the evening, and some people are done and ready to go to bed by 10 p.m., 11 p.m., and other people need until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And so they can stay in the ceremonial area. There are cushions there that people lay down on that are very comfortable, and they just hang out as they're in the phase that we call landing. It's after the peak experience of the visionary experience, and then it's just the landing phase. And for some people it's longer and some people it's shorter.
Can you tell me what are the benefits of trying something like this? Why would somebody want to go and try ayahuasca in the jungle? What would be the benefits of this experience?
Yeah, I think there are a myriad of benefits. There's like a very long list. The ayahuasca has been known for thousands of years to be a very potent medicinal brew. And so people have a variety of healing experiences associated with it. So I think the first reason is transformation or healing. And it's been proven to be really successful for healing depression, anxiety, PTSD, and addiction, as well as trauma and trauma-induced psychological states. So uh, a lot of people come to get over their past, to get over bad relationships or abusive situations they've been in, or just the traumas and loss of normal life itself, like the loss of loved ones and just some of the harder parts of living life. And then some people have had really difficult and very abusive situations in their life, or they've come out of war, they're veterans, et cetera. And they're really looking for an intervention and a solution for their life. And ayahuasca has been very potent and very positive for that. So has psilocybin been found to be a great treatment for that, and cannabis too. So all of those are great medicinal plants to help that. And then, so let's go on the psychological level. And then it's also used as a great cleanse for the body. And so people who have gastrointestinal problems, Crohn's disease, incurable intestinal issues often come to ayahuasca looking for intervention and support, and many times get help with that. And then there's a whole group of illnesses that are very difficult to diagnose with Western medicine, which are psychosomatic illnesses. And psychosomatic illnesses are where something's happened in your psychology that now has a physical manifestation. And ayahuasca has been found to be a very potent solution for healing that. And that can look very miraculous for some people because the problem is fundamentally psychological, but it manifests physically. And so in one night, you can fix the psychological origin of that, and the physical illness just disappears. And so it's also gotten a tremendous reputation for those kinds of miraculous experiences. And then the other side of it is the visionary and sort of consciousness side of it, where people have exploration, tremendous learning, downloads of realizations and knowledge, feeling like they're connected to something greater than themselves, ego transcendence, tapping into source and something, far beyond our normal ego experience. And that's something people are now really starting to understand and find incredibly fascinating and of great value to them.
Are the only the only retreats that offer ayahuasca ceremonies only over in Peru and in other countries? Is there anywhere in the United States where this is available? Do you know?
Well, there are a few church groups that use ayahuasca in the United States that I know of, and they're operating under freedom of religion. And then there are a lot of ceremonies I heard of that are with people that are organized individually. So a shaman comes up and does the ceremonies for a short period of time and then moves on to another area. And there are some other kind of, groups that I've heard of doing ceremonies, but the real retreats that you hear about, I know are in Mexico, Costa Rica, Peru, Ecuador, Brazil. Those are the main areas where you actually see, and Colombia, where you see ayahuasca retreats taking place.
Basically anywhere that there's the rainforest, basically, right?
Yeah, where there's rainforest and where the plants grow well,
Yeah.
and where there's also a different attitude about the legality associated with participating.
So there must have been so many indigenous tribes and cultures that use this, not just in Peru, like you mentioned, so many different places.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. If you think about the Amazon basin, just the whole Amazon, it's bigger than the continental United States. So, east to west coast is down here. The Amazon is that big of a space. And so where there are tribes in Brazil, southern Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, that all have a history of working with ayahuasca. And I figure that the tribes just shared it. Whoever was the people who discovered it, there were great trade networks through the river systems here, and the tribes traveled along them and, ultimately shared this culture all over that area. So it would be, a space much bigger than Europe or much bigger than the United States that was participating in these kinds of plant ceremonies.
That's awesome. I feel like we're definitely been talking mostly about ayahuasca because I feel like that's the most interesting and
right. We haven't
thing
really talked about that in the
on our show,
podcast.
yeah.
It's kind of
it's always been about
new.
psilocybin or cannabis.
Right. Psilocybin is just here. Psilocybin is starting to gain speed. I don't know that people are starting to talk about a lot more psychedelics. But ayahuasca, I have not. This is intriguing for me. We don't know much about that.
Well, I'm happy to talk about it. It was the most fascinating thing for me when I found ayahuasca in my early 20s, which is now 23 years ago. It was the most intense, eye-opening experience that I ever had. And then to get invited to be a part of an Amazonian lineage and apprentice at that time was really unheard of. There was taboos against it. They didn't teach foreigners or outsiders. It was a very secret thing within their cultures. And so I'm happy to talk about it. And I know it's a fascinating subject.
Very fascinating. And did you find any people kind of resisting wanting to teach you because you're a foreigner, or because you said you found people that were expecting you to come, but did you resist
the rest
some people?
the rest of them, everyone else was not interested in teaching anyone from outside. It's very, it was family driven bloodlines. And people could marry in and out of the families, but you had to be in the family of people that practiced or in the tribe of people that practiced these plant medicines to be able to learn. It was something that was passed down generation after generation, and the knowledge was considered something very sacred and very secret. And so I had to be accepted ultimately. And it was a great period of transition in the last 20 years where people of the rest of the world started to really pay attention to the value of these medicinal plants. And it turned out that, there were these incredible visionary plants that had these amazing experiences associated with them. And it was of great value in the world. And so little by little, the tribes and the lineages agreed to open up to Westerners and support them more in their own medical needs and their own spiritual needs. But yes, at first there was a lot of resistance.
Yeah, I would think that would be you would really want to share that with the rest of the world because it really helps people become better humans when you have these experiences.
It does. It's an eye-opening experience, and it shows you more about the world and shows you more about yourself. And there's a kind of deep questioning that takes place in it as you go through the process of the plants, where people have a lot of introspection. They let go of a lot of negative things. They gain greater insights, often much deeper understandings about conflicts in their lives. They come to be able to resolve those conflicts. They can let go of the past, which often is coloring people's experience with different kinds of negativity and difficulties that they had. And to be liberated from that is a tremendous gift.
What would you say to somebody that's I've always been interested in trying it, but I'm kind of nervous about it because I know it's a very like you said, it's a process. You need to make sure at least a week out that you've you've been eating well, you have no other substances in, and then you hear about you have to purge yourself usually when you're finally starting to come into the like. So would you say if someone's nervous about trying it that they shouldn't? They should be like you said, don't have stress. What would you say to
I
somebody like
think nerves are common. I think everyone gets a little anxious before a ceremony, and that's okay. The way I kind of think of it is, first of all, on the purging side of it, I think people have made too much of that.
yeah.
Purging has a purpose, and it only happens when you need to let go of something. And when it happens, it's really miraculous because it's rare in our lives that you can actually throw up or go to the toilet and actually have a transformative experience that's healing for you. So we typically think of getting sick, and because of that, throwing up is a really negative concept. We don't usually think of it as like, wow, I'm getting something out that's really toxic and I'm getting a lot better for it. And so I think first there's that part of it, but going into this always has a little bit of anxiety and fear and edge associated with it. So I would just accept that as being part of the process, and, you know, uh, just listen to yourself. If you feel like this is something that you want to do and have the experience, think of the millions of other people who've had the experience that it's been very positive for them, and just go in there with an open mind and, see what happens. For most people, it has some difficult moments, but those difficult moments are very small compared to the tremendous gifts people receive.
And one thing we have a little more available to us is cannabis.
Mm.
Is that something that we could use also ceremonially, like you do?
Absolutely. Yeah, cannabis is an incredible ceremonial tool. It was used by the people that was, before China, but think of the China area, but before it was even China, and think of India before it was even India, and going up towards Afghanistan before that was even Afghanistan. Cannabis was being cultivated. It's one of the oldest medicinal plants and visionary plants that's been used, and I think one of the most valuable. I'm a tremendous supporter of cannabis, and uh, think it's a fantastic medicinal plant, and I think it's in just an incredible experience altogether. Cannabis can be used ceremonially. Typically, it's used with much larger doses in a ceremonial context, to the point that it actually becomes visionary in its own right. And so a lot of people don't use it that way anymore, and they've kind of lost the art of it, and it becomes more of like a thing that they use to relax or, social experience with others. But ceremonially, it can be a very, very potent and powerful tool, and has been used that way for thousands of years. Typically, when we think of a cannabis ceremony, you get a group of people together, you set up an area that you're going to do the ceremony in, which could be your living room or just like a nice chill out zone. But everyone agrees that it's really going to be about meditating and not so much like hanging out and talking. And you're going to have a much larger dose than you might normally have. And you're going to, really go into the experience and set intention for the experience, like what you're doing, why you're doing that. It could be just to connect. It could be to learn. It could be to meditate. It could be to release stress. It could be to receive some kind of spiritual intervention or healing. You guys set that intention together, and then you have the ceremony. Now, the ceremony could be with music that would be appropriate to the experience, or it could be with a ceremonialist who knows how to actually hold the ceremony and may use different percussive instruments and knows how to induce a deep meditative state or a trance and help people really kind of get into that altered state. When we would do ceremonies, the ceremonies would last anywhere from 6 to 10 hours. And dose wise, people would usually have somewhere between 50 to 100 milligrams of edibles, sometimes between 100 and 200 milligrams of edibles. And on top of that, usually vape or smoke another maybe 2 to 6 grams of flour. So
Okay.
usually a much larger dose.
Yeah.
Some people who couldn't handle that much obviously had less, but that was sort of like the middle ground for people that would have this experience. And that was obviously, that is not recommended. Your typical 10 milligram, 5 milligram, 10 milligram edible, or being very careful with how much you have smoking, et cetera, is the typical recommendation. But this is a focused ceremony where the whole idea is to enter into a visionary state and set that intention and have it set up that way.
How would that work for somebody that edibles tend to not work for them. Like
Just don't use them. Just use what works for you.
vaping.
Yeah, vice versa, right? I mean, vaping doesn't work for some, smoking doesn't work for others. The beauty I think about cannabis is the wide varieties of ways to consume it. And I think you can find what works for you. I think really what's important is that you have a dose that's beyond that normal threshold for you. So, I mean, I think we've all had the experience where we've just gotten too high. Where it's just like, whoa, I'm way too high.
I
Like we've
usually
had
fall
that.
This
asleep. I usually fall
podcast.
asleep when I get
Not since we started this podcast.
That's it. No.
gone
But
up
it says before,
substantially.
you know, we've
Right.
had that moment. The whole idea is to go way beyond that. That's my point. The point is like that's just the threshold of where the
You
ceremony
know what?
starts.
And maybe if
Let's
you do a ceremony, we would probably have to do, like he said, cleansing before. We'd have to take a tolerance break before to prepare
Maybe a
us
little
for our
tolerance break.
ceremonial dose.
Yeah, you might want to have that and then a ceremonial dose. That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea also to take a few breaks every now and then from cannabis just in general. You know, I think what I recommend around cannabis use is ask yourself why you're using it and how much you're using and be honest. And because we know that one of the negatives of cannabis is the tolerance that gets built up and people who start to use it as a habit or a crutch.
Yeah.
Right? That's where I see like, you know, people kind of go the other way with it and then they stop using it as the medicine that it started for them or the thing that was really positive for them. And so I think with that you want to just be honest with yourself where you are in your consumption, and taking breaks is always positive.
You know, we have a friend who does the ceremonies, Cannabis Joe. We need to go to one of those because they always look very, very magical. Like it looks like everybody has a good time and, you know, everybody's there to work on themselves. So that's really interesting. You have a Blue Morpho Academy Mystery School. So you teach people also, not only do you have the ceremonies, but you also teach people to do the ceremony,
to do the 4 different roles.
Can you give us a little more on how that works?
Yeah, the mystery school is launching this month. I've been doing it informally for many years, but I decided after a lot of people asked me to create one and hold one to actually formalize it. And the idea is this: to teach the ceremonial skills, to teach people how to be able to use these for other purposes, the purposes of their intentions or spiritual reasons, or, you know, more formal reasons, how they want to incorporate the different plant medicines into their lives. And then we get together once a week on a Zoom call and we share what's going on with us and any questions that we have. And there's a Q&A. And then there's also a lesson about a certain skill associated with working with the plants from a mystical perspective and mystical tradition, which could be about how to navigate visions or how to go into visions or how to change your visions when you're having them or how to communicate with others, etc. There's a lot of different skills that we learn. And then we get together and we have a ceremony about that. And some people do it on their own and some people do it in small cohorts inside the school itself. And then they come back and they report their findings and they share their knowledge and their wisdom with each other. And it's a real community vibe. And often people in the psychedelic community feel alone. They're not sure where to get a mentor or how to get expert help. They know there's more going on behind the scenes and they want to know more. And so that's where we're there to be able to help them.
Now, is this like a virtual school that can be done online, or do they have to go to Peru?
No, it's a virtual school online. It's a global school. We have students from all over the world, literally all over the world, from Australia to Asia, all the way across Europe and North America and South America. I mean, from everywhere. And it's an incredible global community. We do it all virtually. And then we also gather for specific and special events where we come together as a community and hold these ceremonies together.
And where do you normally do those special events?
All over. We're going to have an event next year in Europe. We have them in Peru. We've had gatherings in the United States. We meet where we can work together in a place where the plants are legal. So, you know, in the States, we work with cannabis, and in Peru, we work with ayahuasca and San Pedro. And, you know, in other places, we'll go work with psilocybin.
Yeah, it looks like psilocybin is starting to become more and more
acceptable. Talked about here locally.
Yeah, here in the States, that there are more and more legislations coming out making it available, at least for medicinal purposes.
Yeah, there's a great decrim movement happening as well. And then there's also, the legalization movements, and I support those tremendously. I think that these are really the divine right of humanity. We've had these plants for our entire history. It's only recent that they've been legislated against and that prohibited by different laws. That's only very recent in our history. Like human history is over 1,000,000 years, and it's been less than 100 years that these plants have had these restrictions placed on them. And so I support the legalization, and I hope open-mindedness returns to us and we can continue to use them. And as we do that, we'll support the communities where where they can use them legally.
So your school's mostly all with like natural medicinal plants. What have you heard, or are you familiar at all? Like I've also seen that like ketamine therapies have been becoming a thing. MDMA as well, but that's more, chemical, like it's not like a natural plant.
Right.
Yeah, I think the plant chemical debate happens a lot. Fundamentally, I just always ask, what's the purpose of taking it and what good is it doing? And what I see right now is that ketamine and MDMA are doing a lot of good, and they're really helping people. And so I'm a tremendous supporter of those as well from that purpose. And I think, again, just like we said about cannabis, you got to ask yourself why you're taking it and for what purpose, and what are the benefits of that for you. And so I see when we use ketamine for the purpose of both, again, healing and exploration, it has tremendous power and benefits for people. As same thing with MDMA. And I'm not as familiar with them, so I don't know,
Mhm.
how often you can use them and still be safe and stuff like that. But I think that it's important that we stay within that safety parameter and treat them with the respect that they need. But I think they're very powerful and very positive.
Can you tell us a little bit about your first time trying ayahuasca, if you're willing to share that
Sure.
experience with us?
Yeah, my first time was amazing. I said, I'm still integrating my first experience. I was in my early 20s, and I had traveled into the Amazon up this tiny little river with a couple friends that I had met traveling. I was traveling by myself, but I met this young couple that was, doing kind of like a year abroad between high school and college, and they were traveling as well. So we all ended up going on this trek together into the Amazon. We had a guide, but it was just us. And along the way, we picked up an ayahuasca shaman, and we headed into the forest, and we went and we actually collected ayahuasca from the forest and
Wow.
chacruna together.
You just
And
found him
then,
in the
yeah,
forest?
the
Camp
guide,
there.
the guide knew him. He's like, "Do you guys
Okay.
want to drink ayahuasca?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I'm there." And so the guide
Okay.
knew. So he stopped at a small town and he asked around and he found the guy, and the guy was willing to do a ceremony. So he kind of he jumped into the canoe with us, and we went off into the forest together. It was quite magical.
That's awesome.
And yeah, we went deep into the forest. We're on this tiny little river. Uh, there was just these like few little houses spread out across the river, like the tiny shacks. And um, ultimately we were at where upriver from us, there were no inhabitants. Like no one else lived there. It was just the forest. And we cooked ayahuasca together that first day. And so I got to see the whole process and participate in it, which was also magical. And then that night we sat down to drink it, and he poured me this cup of ayahuasca, and I had no way to know whether it was a lot or a little. I didn't have any way to dose it, but I just drank it, and it went down so smooth. And to me, it tasted so good that I couldn't believe that anyone would throw it up or anything. I just thought like, wow, this is amazing. Like, wow, this is, and then I thought, oh, maybe I haven't been given enough, because it didn't start right away. I didn't know what I was thinking. Then in about 15 minutes, I kind of looked around, and I mean, we were sitting outside, right? So like there's a river, and I'm looking around, and everything starts to get pixelated. Like everything, like you can see the air, like every bit of air was now a pixel. I'm looking around, I'm thinking like, wow, okay, something started. And then the shaman started shaking this leaf rattle called a shakapa, and it makes a shook sound. It goes shook, 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 shook. And as he did that, I'm looking around, and the pixels all start to turn into geometric patterns.
Oh my
Right?
God.
I'm looking through these geometric patterns everywhere. I'm like, oh my God, something just happened. This is strong. Like, what is this? Like, oh my God, what is this? And it started getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And it didn't stop getting stronger for 4.5 hours.
Oh my
It
God.
just got, that
Like,
was nothing. It was just like, stronger and stronger and stronger. At 17 minutes, I started throwing up. Like I could not handle it. I was so out of my element. I started just throwing up and throwing up and throwing up and throwing up. And then I got really scared. I really did get really scared, but that's on me. I got scared, right? Like it wasn't that it made me scared or anything. No, I got scared over how intense this was. And then it was like something took over my consciousness, something took over my psyche. And it was like, you'll look at this, you'll look at this. And then like my whole life defragged in my head, like my whole life came apart. And then I went through my whole life, like, as if it were like 100 strobe lights all flashing at the same time. Every flash was some memory or some aspect of my life. I did this whole life review, and anytime I came across trauma or negativity or things that had made me depressed or anything like that, I threw them up. I literally like threw them up out of me, and I saw them coming out of my mouth.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe that. And then I looked over, and a bush had turned into a wild boar. And it was a wild boar, and it was talking to me while I'm throwing up my life, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I know that's a bush. It was a bush earlier, and it looks at me and it goes, "Do I look like a bush to you?" And I look back and I go, "No, you look like a boar." He goes, "Well, don't call me a bush." You know, he's like talking like that, criticizing me, and like like talking like almost like a commentator talking about the experience. And then I look over into the wall of the jungle that's like across the river, and it's maybe like 50 yards away, and it's like 30-foot wingspan hummingbirds are in the wall
Oh,
like that, and they sound like an
helicopter.
airplane. They're so loud. Their beaks are like, yeah, like a helicopter. Their beaks are like 12 feet, 15 feet long, bright colors exploding in rainbows, all exploding as they were hovering there like that. And then I would go back to throwing up.
Throwing
And then
life.
yeah, no, it was intense. It was super intense. And there was this vortex that was sucking me into the vortex. And every time I did, it would make me go crazy. And it felt like I was going insane, and I'd have to throw up more. And then after about 4.5 hours of that, I thought I couldn't take any more. I was in the dirt. I was like dug in. I couldn't move anymore. It was so intense. And then at that time, the shaman came over me, and he did a healing on me. He blew mapacho smoke over me, and he did this healing on me. And then the most magical thing happened. I think one of the most magical things that ever happened in my life. I felt, and like literally, I felt hands squeezing my stomach like this, like squeezing and then going up my stomach, up my esophagus. It was very painful, but I felt hands, literally hands like this going up, and they walked all the way up to my throat, and they squeezed here in my throat, and I vomited this big vomit, and I felt my jaws unhinge like a snake, like my jaws unhinged, and a physical object the size of a small lemon came out of me.
For real, like a real object.
A real object. Yeah,
Or
it
you
was
imagined
no,
it.
no, no, no. An
It was
actual
there
physical.
when you were
It
sober.
was there. Oh yeah, it was a physical object. It was about the size of a lemon, and it held its shape like an egg for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then it slowly kind of like came apart, and then was just there on the ground. And when that happened, everything in my life that had ever been an affliction, everything that had been pain and suffering, everything that had been negativity, all the problem, everything, I mean, just everything vanished. Everything went
It was
away.
all in that thing.
It was all in that thing, and it vanished. It went away. I mean, it went out of my mind. It went out of my soul. It went out of my spirit. It went out of my body. It was a kind of magical intervention. And the visions all turned to just incredible beauty, rainbows, beings like angels, these light being things were in these visions, and they were all super loving, like super, super kind, super loving, super congratulatory. And they had told me that I had been healed, and that I had found my apprenticeship, and that I would ultimately stay there and live and train. And that's exactly what happened. That entire vision came true.
Oh my God, I literally got
Yeah.
chills. I literally got chills.
And okay, and then
Amazing.
since you're doing the ceremonies now, have you ever been able to see someone kind of go through that, or some people?
Oh yeah,
do that
yeah,
same
it happens.
thing?
It actually happens all the time.
Out of them?
Yeah, yeah, it happens. It happens, and people will come out of the ceremonies, and they'll say that a physical thing came out of them, and when it came out of them, the healing occurred for them. And sometimes they say it comes out like BBs, like little ones that hit their bucket, and they can hear them. and they know that stuff's coming out of them and it's magical. It's something that's part of what they know of as their medicine. And yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was one of the best experiences of my life, but also one of the hardest, but also one of the most like earned and well deserved. Like I survived the first part of it, and to ultimately get to that point, and it fully revolutionized my life. I mean, it changed everything from that point going on.
I mean, but okay, I'm a puker, and I feel like when I get sick and I puke a lot, it's physically draining. How can you even like keep up with all of that? I could only imagine
You
how
don't
much
dehydrate.
you puke.
That's
Like,
why you
oh
need
my
a sitter
gosh.
there to, I guess.
You need someone there to help you, yeah, just in case. I mean, that's why it's done in a ceremony. This is considered a very powerful treatment. This
Yeah.
isn't like a drug culture thing. This isn't like, hey, let's take this as a drug.
Oh
That's not
my
how it's used. This is considered a very powerful magical medicine, and a way to commune with spirit and with source, and learn a lot about this universe and about what's magical and mystical about it. And there's something amazing about the strength that you get from the ceremony itself. You get like extraordinary strength, and so you can go through that process of throwing up and not getting so tired. And it is actually really, really amazing how it all works out.
That sounds like you
That
literally gave me
sounds,
chills with that
I
story. That was
know.
so cool. And like that was your first time over 20 something when you're in your 20s. How
Yeah.
many times have you done it since then?
I've
'Cause
said
you
over
when you
1,500 times.
Oh
Yeah,
my
because I was gonna say
God.
you're a facilitator,
Yeah.
so you
But
like you
always,
coach people through
but
it. So you do it with the group?
Yeah, with the groups. Yeah.
but do you always take the same amount you threw back when you were out there?
They have different amounts. You can drink the same amount, you can drink a little less. There's a threshold amount that gets you in the experience. And it's sort of like with it, it's interesting about the amount because people throw up, right? So if you don't absorb it, you drank it, but it came out, and you'll see it in people's buckets, right? So it's hard to always tell how much somebody really absorbed versus how much they drank in a cup.
Yeah.
In our case, once you become a facilitator, you don't really throw up very, very much anymore. So you absorb all of it. And so you typically will drink a little bit less, but it's still enough to be fully visionary.
And
You learn how to,
you have
yeah,
these visions while you're also
yeah, that's how you facilitate. Yeah, you facilitate through the visions.
I would love to just,
So, like,
can you even
when you're
just sit and be a part
facilitating-
of just watching it? Like, just
Yeah,
to
for
see?
sure. Absolutely. Yeah, people sit in and sober all the time and watch the ceremonies. It's amazing. It's amazing what happens. And I've had people who didn't believe us at all. They thought we were making it up. They're incredulous and didn't think there was any truth to it.
Oh, I'm
And
sure.
I had them sober sit in the room, and they came out the next day like this. They were like, okay.
Shit's really-
One of them walked outside and looked up at the ceremonial house and saw a spiraling column of darkness coming out of the top of the ceremonial house like smoke. And there was no smoke in the room. And that person was a hater and stone cold sober, like a real troll. And it just was like, no, I'm going to prove you guys are just making this up. And they came out the next day and was like,
after that?
yeah, they decided to participate after that. They were like, okay,
I need
that's some magical stuff going on. I'm in.
Can I ask this then? The guy that you said was a hater and whatnot, did you see any improvement, any changes in that?
Yeah, they purge a lot of their darkness, and a lot of their negativity is just accumulated within them. And there isn't a judgment or a criticism in it. People who don't know, they still don't know. So, I didn't know. When I didn't know, I had all these doubts and fears and ideas and judgments and stuff. So we remember that. And, little by little, we help support people in understanding that there's something much more magical and mystical going on with life. And when you tap into it, it's amazing because it enriches what you know about your life, right? It's like your whole world expands, and there's so much more help and support for you, and so much more kindness and compassion. And so that's just a beautiful thing to awaken into.
Yeah, that's an amazing experience.
Yeah, I want to do that.
Let's go.
I know, right? What is Godai.ai? What is that about?
Yeah, God AI is actually an AI platform. A person who came down on one of our retreats, Isaac, and I created it. And it's a chat program. It's a technology program so that you can talk to different kinds of spiritual leaders. So there's a shaman and a female shaman, and there's a priestess and a priest, and different religious figures and stuff, but it's all from the databases that AI was coded on. And so you can chat into it and ask any kind of spiritual question you have. You could ask any question about psychedelics, how to use them. You could ask any question about, the visionary plants we've been talking about, and it'll give you an answer in the first person, as if you're really chatting with that shaman or with that priestess or the monk or the martial arts specialist, etc. So it's a way for people to go and connect with AIs that have been trained on being spiritual teachers, and they can answer your questions.
Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, so you just go to godai.ai. It's online. You can sign up for free and you can start to use it and ask any questions you have. Like, you could ask the same questions you asked me, like, what is ayahuasca and how is it used? And it'll immediately give you answers, and it can even speak back the answers and recite the answers for you.
Cool.
Cool. Scared of AI, but some of it's cool.
I think there's some reasons to be, but we have to embrace technology just like we need to embrace these plants and make them good. Like, let's get in front of that and figure out how to make that thing good instead of having that thing be something we need to be scared of.
Yeah, and I
Mhm.
love that you're taking technology to help spread like spiritual and like natural messages, like getting that information out there for people.
Yeah, well, one of the cool things about it is, when you go to a spiritual teacher, the spiritual teacher only knows what that person knows, and that's it. But if you go to an AI that was trained on all the spiritual texts, that was on all the writings, on all the historical stuff, there's that AI knows so much more about, these topics than one typical person does. And so it's a great place to go get information and, get some questions answered about those topics.
Awesome. Well, I think I don't have any more
Yeah,
questions.
we've been on for a while. We could probably ask
We could probably talk
1,000
for
more
you too
questions.
forever. Like, I would like maybe one of the coolest experiences you had facilitating, like when you're okay, I have to ask
Okay.
when you're facilitating, right? And
Yeah.
you're under the influence of ayahuasca, and so are the people
Yeah.
there. Are you literally like in their visions with them? Do you see what they're seeing sometimes? Does that happen? Like, how do you help
Yeah.
facilitate?
Yeah, it can be. It's dynamic. It's a really dynamic thing. It takes a lot of training to, learn how to do it. But there's a collective field. There's a visionary field that we're all in. And then there's the visionary fields that each individual person is in. And then there are their thoughts too. Right. So we don't go into their mind. We don't go into their thoughts. That's a very sacred place for each person. So it can be also really scary if you feel like someone else is in your thoughts with you. So we stay in that place of that collective field, and everybody's in there in different visions. And it is possible to share those visions with everybody. And it's just an amazing experience. I'll give you an example. A guy came down and he wanted to connect with me in that way in ceremony to see if I really saw him. And it happened in his vision at that time that he was in his vision, he was riding a dragon. So he's on a dragon in his vision and he's flying on the dragon, right? And he came to like look at me, and I saw him out of the right-hand side of my vision. And I saw him on a dragon. And I said hi to him. I connected with him, and I saw him on the dragon. I'm like, hey, what's up? And yeah. And so, then that was the vision. And I went off to other things I needed to do. And he went off flying with the dragon. And so the next day he came in breakfast, now not knowing if this was real or not, or, kind of scared. If not, he was like just in a delusion. And I looked at him and I was like, dragon, and I was like looking at him like that. And his mouth just went, yeah.
Holy
He
shit!
was just like, oh my God, he saw that. Like, how'd you see that? Oh my God, we were really connected. I'm like, yeah, we were really
That's
connected.
amazing.
So like, that's really amazing. But for me, I think the most amazing things, and they're actually pretty common, they're pretty consistent, which makes it neat because it's also so amazing and it never like gets old, is when people really open up to source, or when they meet what they call God. I think is really amazing. Like, they come out the next day and they say like, I met source last night. Like, I met the source of this whole universe. Like that happened. And I was like, yeah, but how was that? And it's always miraculous. And so that's really amazing. And then the other is when people have miraculous healing. I think that's just phenomenal. So when people go to both of those places, I think that that's really special because it gives a lot more context to their life and a much deeper understanding. And it doesn't have to be the same for everybody, but for those people, it's really powerful. Like on the last retreat I did, there was a guy who was like an atheist for most of his life. He have any connection with source or with God in any way. And he came out of it and he said, I met God, and like, I'm not an atheist anymore. And I just asked him, like, well, how was that? And he said it was amazing. And it was what he was looking for his whole life. And he just didn't want to believe in anything, but he didn't have to believe in something because he met source. He actually talked with source. And I think that if somebody has that kind of spiritual awakening, that's just miraculous. Like, you can't put that really into words or into any kind of box. And that's that person's experience. And I don't put that experience on anybody else, but I know that that person now understands something for himself that's, very important for his life. And so I think those are like really amazing. And they actually happen a lot.
Wow. I can't imagine.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
moving. Especially in the world that we live in today. A lot of more people need to connect.
Exactly.
Outside of this
We're so
realm.
People, when they meet spirit, I mean, the other thing is when spirits heal people is really interesting, like really fascinating. Like, recently this one was really cool too. There was a person who had a stomach disease. They had like a legit stomach disease, diagnosed and everything like that. They're on medications for a long time. And these two like 7-8 foot tall praying mantis insect doctors came to him.
In his vision.
He's sitting there in the chair, but he's fully awake in his body, right? Like, but in a vision, fully awake, and he's looking straight forward. And he says, standing in front of him are two praying mantises. Heads are like this big. They're like 8 feet tall. They're like 8 feet tall. And he says they're dressed like doctors. They have like white masks on, but they don't have hands. They have these like long, like insectoid. I can
totally see it.
Right. And they go into his stomach like this.
And they were taking it out.
And they take stuff out of his stomach. And the next day he no longer had the stomach disease.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was proven by like doctors. He went back home and the doctor's like, nope, you don't have the disease anymore. We can't explain why or how, but you don't have to be on medication
like, what
anymore.
did you do?
Yeah, he's like, well, I drank ayahuasca. And they're like, well, hey, you got healed. We don't know how to explain it yet, but that's really cool too. When those kinds of things happen, it's hard to, it's hard to even imagine that. That's really special.
Yeah.
I almost feel, it feels like everyone should try this.
Right. I know. All of us are
available.
Probably
come on down.
Better place.
Come on,
if
come on down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's something to think about. And we'll provide everybody with the resources on our show when we do post our interview. And we post it to our patrons, and then we post it on Wednesdays, but we will let you know. We'll link you, and then like all of your websites and your email and all that stuff. We'll make a card when we intro you on the show and let people know how they can get in touch with you. And I mean,
before we end, is there anything else you wanted to share or anything before we end our?
No, just thanks so much. And, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'd love to come back any other time you'd like to have me. And if anyone's interested in these experiences, know to find reputable people, be safe, and just know that it's out there. I mean, I think it makes life more interesting to know that this stuff exists in the world. And it's okay that it's new for people. And just if you're called to it or you need it, especially if you need it as a medicine, it's so good to know that there's this kind of help out there.
Yeah. I might be calling.
I know.
I might find myself out there purging.
Yeah. And we hopefully we'll have you back on the show. I'm sure we'll come up with a lot more questions.
I would love to meet Source.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you all. It's been a real pleasure.
And that was our conversation with Hamilton Souther, founder of Blue Morpho and Blue Morpho Academy, the innovator, visionary, master shaman, technologist focused on the intersection of consciousness and technology. You can reach him at bluemorphoacademy.com. He also has an AI project, godai.ai, bluemorphotours.com, bluemorphoacademy.com. And on Facebook, you can find his at Hamilton Souther Official. And on Instagram, he's at Hamilton Souther. So there it is, folks. Thank you for joining us in this spooky episode. I mean,
I think next time we do ayahuasca, it's definitely going to be
in the Amazon.
We're going to go to Peru. We have
the end of the show song.
Yeah, I love it.
How about this one?
End of the show. Yeah, I like that one.
I like it.
actually.
It's so old timey and like vaudeville, and you
Yeah.
know that's right up my alley.
I like the second one more.
Yeah, I like.
I
The
think we
second
could
one
even
more.
add like it even sounds like you could add end of the show at the end, and it
Oh.
would actually go with the.
We're gonna add some vocals to it, you guys. End of the show. Yeah.
So we gotta
Go.
add a couple.
Go,
lyrics
do it
leading up to
again. Now I got it. Go do it again. Now I want to do it. Oh, now I missed it. But I think it could work. I think it
But
could
there
work.
has to be a couple things said. We have reached the
Oh yeah, we could.
end of the show.
Oh, she wants to write a whole ditty, a whole little ditty, whole little end of the show theme song.
Just a little one-liner thing, you know.
Yeah, we can make it work.
Yeah, I can see it.
I can
You
see
can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear it.
Yeah. Now let's put our bungs away. We've reached the end of the show.
That's
Or
perfect.
something.
See?
I think
Or
you got it.
something like that. Look at that. All my theater training has paid off for this one moment.
You ready to do it live?
Yeah, sing it. Like with it. See if we can.
Now it's time to put your bungs away. We've reached the end of the show.
That's too good. That's too
Oh
good.
my God.
Let's go back. Let's go back.
Very
Ready?
nice.
Okay, hold on.
It's like
I'm following you.
put your bongs. What is
What
it?
was it?
As it goes, now.
Ah!
Oh, I did it again. Now it's time to put your bongs away. We've reached the end of the show, right?
Love it.
That goes.
Let's try it again.
Put your bongs away. Okay, I picked it out.
No, you forgot the whole beginning part. You
Yeah.
said now it's time to put.
Wait.
You said that before.
Okay,
Time
let's do it
to
again.
put your bongs away. We've
Time to
reached
put
the
our
end
bongs
of
away.
the show.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Let's try it again. Time to put our bongs away. We've reached the end of the show. Your bongs away, our bongs away.
Wait, was that the same song?
Yeah.
Now I'm stumped. I feel like it worked so well the first time we improv it, and now I'm just jacking it up. Anyways,
That was great.
I think there's one in there you could use for sure. Hey, you patrons, you. We love you.
Yes. Yes.
Even though sometimes I'm missing in action.
I'm still stuck at the end of the show song.
Oh, you want to do it one more time?
No, it's okay. I'm just thinking about it.
Oh, look, I packed a bowl.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So-
I'm gonna smoke it.
Okay. So thank you so much to our patrons and everyone that's here listening right now. Special thank you to our In the Rotation and OG patrons.
Destiny,
Lauren,
Chrissy,
Denise,
Peaches,
Meredith,
Natalie,
Angelina,
Jenny,
Catherine,
Jay,
Jesse,
Diane,
Gabby,
Leslie,
and Selena. I've got the giggles, yo. I'm telling you, this is good. Thanks for listening. See you guys next week. Love you. Bye.
Peace.